Hi guys. So previously we implemented the register functionality and it worked very well. So in this tutorial, what I want us to do is to implement the login functionality. To do that, it's like very simple. We'll start by creating a login page. So just on our folder user auth, just create a login page. So it's login.html like that. Then on the code I provided, the template, drag and drop the login code. Like before, initially I just have to extend the base.html. I also wrote static. Like that. Then all I have to do now is paste this code. I paste the code. Sorry. I copy and paste the code. The first thing we're going to do is render this page. We want to show this login functionality. This is what we're going to implement. We want when a user registers an account, they can log in either with their username or email and a password. When they click login, it's going to redirect them to the home page. Although we already implemented this part on the register function, we also want to implement it on the login function. So to do that, the first thing we are going to do is to render this page, and that's what we are doing. So just on this one, I'm going to search for main like we did before. Main. I want to delete the header and the footer, so I'm just going to collapse this main, then I delete the header. Because we extended the base.html, then I delete this footer. Like that. Then like before, I just place this on a block content. Like that. Then I convert this to a way that Django understands it. To do that, like I said before, I just have to use auto Django. So Control Shift P, then I select auto Django extension. Any static file now is converted into a way that Django can understand it. It's very simple. Then the next thing we are going to do, of course, is to create a URL, a login URL. So to do that, just go to the URLs. Then we just have to create a path. It's simply like this. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. Then this is login. Then this view will be login. We haven't created the view, but you're going to create it in a view. Then the name, we want to assign the name login, like that. So we go to our views to create our view login. So you just type define login, the login that here, this login. We pass requests, we return, we render our HTML. The first thing we do is we pass the request, then the path to our HTML, it's at user auth this folder slash login.html. Like that. So let's see whether this page will be loaded. So we just have to navigate to login. this user login, it's been rendered correctly. So now what we are going to do is we are going to implement a function that when we pass the email and the password and click login, will be redirected to the home page. To do that, we're just going to go back to our code here on the login functionality view, and then we're going to say if request if request just a minute, if request dot user dot is want use dot is authenticated. If this user is authenticated, what we want to do is we want to redirect them to the home page, or just give them a message you already logged in. So we are going to say we're going to redirect. We're going to redirect to our home page. It shows home, and we can also give show a message. We can say messages dot it's a warning message dot warning. We pass requests and then we pass the message. To do this, I like passing an f string. Hey, you are already logged in, like that. Very simple. Now, what if the user is not authenticated? We want to see whether the request dot method is equals to post. So what we want to say is if request dot method is equals to post, like the way we did on the register functionality. If the request on the login.html is equivalent to post, then what we want to do, we want to get the email and the password, yeah, like that. So we're going to say email is equals to request dot post dot get. We want to get the email, just to do the same with the password. Request dot post dot get. We also want to get the password. Email and password, it's this password and the email that has been passed. We can also print the email and the password to make sure that they are working correctly. So I can just say print an f string. It's not a must to read this part of the code, but it's good to for practice. Email, we want to print the email. And also the password. Although we are going to comment this later, but I want to just print it to make sure that everything is working correctly. Now, once we get the email and the password, something else I also want to do is I want to authenticate this user to make sure that the provided details are correct. To do this, I will use a try and the try and catch method. In case I get an error, in case we get an error, then something else will happen. So I'm just going to say try. We want to say user is equals to user dot objects dot get. We want to get the email, so its email is equals to email. This email is equals to the email that has been provided. We also want to say user is equals to authenticate. Use the authenticate method. we pass request, we say email is equals to email and password is equals to password, like that. Then we say if this user is, if this user is not none, if this user exists, then what we want to do, we want to log in that user. We log in the user, so it's request, then the user, and then maybe you can provide a message. You can say messages dot, it's a success message. We pass request, then we say you are logged in, and then we redirect them to the home page like we did here before. Like that, very simple. Now then we say else if this user is none, what do we want to do? We want to provide a message, so it's messages dot, we can provide a warning message, then we pass request, and then we pass a message saying something like an invalid email or password. Then we cross our try method, we say try, then we say accept. We are going to use user, you remember the model we created, user dot does not exist. If this user does not exist, then what do you want to do? We want to provide a message, and we are going to say user with this email does not exist. User with email, this email does not exist, like that. And then we render our login.html. It's very simple. Something else I forgot is we want to set, for us to show the error messages, I want to set the error messages initially to none. If there are no error messages, then we don't want to show them. We are going to show these error messages on the login.html. Yeah, so we say if request.user is authenticated, if this user is already authenticated, we want to tell the user that they already logged in. This is coming from this register. You remember here we defined a new user, then we said after register the user, we want to redirect them to home. That's similar to this. If that user is authenticated, we want to tell them they already logged in and also redirect them to home if they have already not been redirected. If that's not the case, we are checking if the method is equals to post from login. What you're looking for is if this post method, if this method is equals to post, why? If the method is equals to post, what are we posting? We're posting the email and the password, name, email, name, password. If request.method is equals to post, we defining a variable name called email. We're saying request.post.get, we want to get the email. If request is equals to post, we want to get the past email and also the past password. You see email, password. Make sure you have this name. These are placeholder names, this name, password, name email and name password. We get the email and the password. Then here I'm just printing the email and the password to make sure that everything is correct. I can comment this out. It's not a must to print it. I can just comment this out. Now, once we get the email, the password, what we want to do, we want to make sure that the past email and password are correct. So that's why I'm using a try and accept method. So I'm saying I want to try user.object.get user uses the model we created user. This user, we have an email and we have a username. I want to get this email to make sure that it's correct. We're saying user.objects.get. I'm getting email. So email, so I'm saying email is equals to email. If that past email, we want to check whether this email is equivalent to the user email. Then I'm also saying user authenticate. If it's correct, we want to authenticate that email and the password. Then here we are saying if user is not none. Now, if that user exists, this user we have passed here, we want to log in them in. Login, you see, login request. We log in that user. Also, you also want to pass a success message and tell them you are logged in. And then we also want to redirect them to home. Else, if this user does not exist, this user you have passed here, we want to say, we want to provide a warning message and say invalid email or password. Then if this try does not work, we want to provide an except. From the except I'm using does not exist. This user does not exist. And which user are we talking about? This user from this model. And then you're saying you're providing a message warning saying telling the user is that provided email does not exist. It's like really simple. Then something else before we test. Remember we defined an error message over here. I think let's prevent this error message of the login.html. So to do that, I'm just going to come to the login.html. And something else here, I also have to define the CSRF token because it's a post method. CSRF token like that. CSRF token. Then I also want to show that error message. So where do you want to show that error message? We can just show it uh, maybe here. Yeah, let's just show it here below. So here I'm going to say if error message, if an error exists, we want to show it. So if error message, we want to show that error. Error message like that. So let's end this if condition. And if I can also provide a div class on this error message. Div class like that. Then I place this error message on this div class. It's not a must, but well, you can. I can div class, let's say error message, something like that. And then I can also provide a style, maybe color. I want the color to be, let's say red. Then we pass the error message. I think everything is right over there. We also have a post. We also have a CSRF token. Now let's see whether it's working. We have a view. We have a URL. Okay. Let's test it out. So what we want to do is to log in. Remember these details we created. So I'm just going to click login. You see, it's logging in correctly. It's taking those details and logging in. Something else maybe I'm going to implement is the sign out functionality. You can see here we have a sign in, and yet we have signed in. So we want to, when someone logs in, this changes to sign out. This changes to sign out. If the user hasn't logged in, then they should, by default, they should be logging and they should be signed in. So to do that, this is like very simple. I'm just going to base.html. Yes, base, and then I'm going to look for, you see currently we have this link, we have a sign in link. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if it's a percentage, if user dot is authenticated, if user dot is authenticated, if user dot is authenticated, if that user has been authenticated, then we want to pass sign in. I think if that user is authenticated, this should be sign out, then else that is if this user is not authenticated, we want to say sign in, then we end our condition and if like that. Also, we want to implement a functionality for the user to sign out. Sign out, it's on sign out. So here I'm just going to pass I'm just going to say we are going to implement, let's implement the logout functionality quickly. So to do that, I'm just going to create another path. Just copy this. This is logout views dot, we are going to call it logout. Logout like that. Then we implement the logout functionality. Here we say define logout request. Then I'm going to use the built-in logout functionality. So from django.contrib.auth, we are going to import login. Also, we are going to import logout and also authenticate like that. Login, logout, authenticate. So yeah, all I'm going to say it's logout. We want to log out. Here we pass request. Yeah, I think it's like that. Then we also want to provide a message, messages dot success request. Say hey, you are logged out. Now when they log out, we want to redirect them to the login page. So it's return, we redirect. User auths login like that. Login, this login page like that. So here on base.html, all I'm going to pass here is URL. It's the URL. So it's URL. It's very simple. I hope you know this. User auths logout, the logout, because it's a logout, this logout. Then here I'm also going to do the same, but this time I want the login URL user auth login. If user dot is authenticated, if this user is authenticated, what we want to show is we want to show sign out. At this point, this user has been authenticated. So here what we want to show, instead of sign in, we want to show sign out. But if this user is not authenticated, we want to show sign in. It's as simple as that. Like that. Everything looks okay. Oh, also something else I think I forgot. It's this error messages. All I have to do here is pass error messages. Error messages, because it's a context. Error messages. Error messages like that. Now we are going to see the error. If we get an error, let's try this again. Let's refresh. Currently logged in. You see now we have sign out. When I click sign out, we are signed out. Very well. Now suppose I pass a wrong password. Let's test it out. Login. Now we're supposed to see a message here. Maybe we made a mistake. When I click login, it should log me in. Let me see the code. Okay, it's getting the user logout. Get user login. You can test this out to see where we're making the error. Print. You can print the email and the password. Something else. Error message. It's correct. Error message. Oh yeah, it's error messages. Error messages. Okay. Here we said if error message is supposed to be. Well, let me just place it as error message like that. Like that. Let's see whether this is working. Let me provide. Okay, we can log in. Let's sign out. Now let's provide an incorrect password. Login. Are we still not getting the message? I don't know what you're doing wrong. Error message. Initially we set it to none. Then you're saying if request dot user dot is authenticated. My messages dot warning. Hey, you already logged in. Then we redirect to home. Then we are saying if request dot method is equals to post. Okay, very correct. You say email is equals to request dot post. We get the email. Okay, password is equals to request dot post. We get the password. Also here we can also print to see whether the email and the password are correct. So we print the email and also we print the password. Then I use a try and exit method. I'm saying user is equals to the user dot object dot get. I'm getting the email. Okay, everything is correct. Then I'm also saying user. We can also print this. Let me make sure that we getting the right one. We can say print an f string, something like user found, maybe user found, and then that user, this user. Okay, then we're saying user is equals to authenticate. You authenticate this user email. Request email is equals to email, password is equals to password. We can also print the authenticated user, so we can just say like there we did it here. Print authenticated, maybe something like authenticated user. Yeah, we print that authenticated user to see whether everything is correct. Then I'm saying if user is not none, if this user exists, we log in the user. Okay, then we pass a success message, you are logged in, and then we direct the user to home. Else, if that's not correct, we provide a warning message. That's correct. Then we are saying user, except user does not exist. That's correct. Message dot warning. Okay, everything should be working fine. Don't know what you are missing. Okay, the logout functionality is correct. Okay, to test this out, I'm going to comment this part whereby when a user registers, they automatically authenticated. So I'm just going to comment this part for now. So let me just comment it like that. The logging looks correct. I can also add an action here. We can also add an action. Then we just provide the URL. The URL to where it's supposed to log us in. So this is a URL. This is a user auth login. User auth login. If error message, if we have an error message, I created a div class with a class error message. We also styled it, and then we are rendering here. We are just rendering the error message. Error message. It's this error message. Let me see error message. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. And if, then we end if. And if, yeah, that's correct. Okay, everything should be working fine. We also have a submit login. Okay, yeah, everything should be working fine. Let's test it once, one more time. I'm just going to stop my server. Then I'm just going to refresh the browser first. Okay, then let's run the server again. Okay, when we click sign in, it's taking us to the login page. Now if I say login, you see it's taking us to the login page. Everything is working correctly. Let's see the details. Okay, let me see these errors. Oh, this was the previous error. Then we loaded again. Okay, this is what we loaded. Okay, user, we took the user and the password. User found, this is the user we found. Authenticated user, this is the authenticated user, like the way I indicated on the print statement. Then we are saying if request.method is equals to post, this post, we get the username, the email and the username, no, the email and the password. You see, the get, we get it, and then we were logged in. Yeah, that's it. I think that's it for this tutorial. If I sign out, we are redirected back to the login. I don't know why the messages should be working. Let me just try this again. Login. We should get a message here. I don't know why it's not showing. I'm going to solve that in a few. Let's see. Let me refresh here. Let's log in again. You see the messages are now showing, but now they are showing on the dashboard. I wanted to show the, you see, like this is the latest message, invalid email or password. It should be the one that they're showing, but it's not showing. I don't know why, but I'm going to solve that in a few. If you see the error, please indicate it on the comment below. But for now, the logging functionality is working correctly. Something else I want us to implement is not remember me. It's accept terms and conditions here below. Before I use a logging, what if we provide accept terms and conditions? You pass the details. If the user hasn't accepted the terms and conditions, then we prompt the user to accept the terms and conditions first before they are logged in. So I think that's what they're going to implement next. Before now we start focusing on the products themselves. Yeah, so I think it will be fun, and thank you for watching.